Penalty flag down. Look out for this one.
Second play from scrimmage in that game, Herschel dislocates his shoulder.
I seen him drop his arm when he come back over.
And it's like, what the hell? His arm's just hanging limp.
I'm standing like me to you, and our team doctor takes his arm out to dislocate his shoulder in place, and I saw Herschel winch.
I didn't come there to be injured. I came there to play. Every once in a generation, a force emerges that rewrites the rules of athleticism.
Stride lead on Darrell Green as they come to the tape. It's 220-pound Hershel Walker.
A phenomenon so transcendent that to see him in action feels almost mythical. Walker was the perfect running back, the perfect combination of power and speed.
Unbelievable run by Hershel Walker.
Well, if these Cowboys and their fans needed a morale booster.
On the legs of Walker, the Bulldogs rose to national prominence and captured the imaginations of college fanatics all over the country.
The game is over. Georgia has won 7.
In his freshman year alone, the quiet assassin ran louder than any back before him. Each rushing yard, each bone-jarring run, these weren't just statistics. They were stories. Stories of a man who refused to be ordinary, whose Heisman winning performance in 1982 felt less like a football season, more like a symphony conducted in cleats. Just his name brought national attention to the USFL.
It's been written this past week that you are locked up via your personal services contract with Donald Trump until 1989. Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
The legs of Walker gave the USFL wings. His 2,400 yards rushing was something that no professional sports league had ever seen before, and they still haven't seen it after all of these years.
It is as though it is the autumn of 1980 again, and the Hershel Walker, who as a 19-year-old freshman turned the sport of college football on its ear, has reappeared in the uniform of the general.
Walker's legacy was just that, a legacy.
He remains perhaps the swiftest man of his size ever to play the game.
Filled with all of the complexities, success and what could have been. Although he walked with the presidents and played among the stars, he had humble beginnings. In 1962, under the sun-drenched skies of Wrightsville, Georgia, a child was born, one whose destiny would not be confined to the rolling fields and modest farmhouses of his hometown. Hershel Walker was the son of Willis Walker, the steadfast farmer whose grit and toil shaped more than just the soil. It shaped the boy who would one day stand among giants. On a farm dotted with turnips and green pastures, Hershel learned lessons of perseverance and strength, lessons that would mold a shy, overweight child with a speech impediment into a force of nature.
Campaign. It was to be a campaign of constant excitement and finally success.
In those days, Georgia wasn't exactly a hotbed of professional football triumph. The Atlanta Falcons, still in their infancy after their funding in 1966, were struggling to find an identity. For young Hershel, inspiration came not from local heroes, but from the distant legends of Municipal Stadium. Hershel started turning dreams into reality. He became a sensation, putting up jaw-dropping numbers on the field.
Walker gets a big block on the right side, and look at the big guy.
In 1979, he led his team to Georgia's first ever state championship.
Pitching it to Walker. Walker inside the 20.
Running for an unbelievable 3,000 yards that season alone. Over his high school career, Walker amassed 6,000 yards and scored 86 touchdowns, making him one of the most sought-after athletes in the country. Scouts from all over came to see the kid from Wrightsville who was breaking records and making it all look easy. When it was time to choose a college, Hershel decided to stay close to home. He picked the University of Georgia, a choice that changed football forever.
I had one thing sticking in my mind before he ever played his first play. Dooley had said to me very quietly, "What I may have on my hands here is nothing but a big, stiff fullback."
Once we put on pads, he was a different player. And when he got in the game in Tennessee in the opener in 1980, we saw a guy we didn't see during the preseason.
The Crimson Tide of Alabama and the Georgia Bulldogs, two unbeaten football giants of the South, battled in Atlanta.
Before Walker's arrival, Georgia hadn't been a powerhouse. Their last national championship was in 1942, and they hadn't won a SEC title since 1959.
New Year's Day, 1960. The Orange Bowl Classic. Georgia versus Missouri.
The Bulldogs were respected, but they weren't feared like programs such as Alabama or Notre Dame.
That's it. Notre Dame, great name in football, is now the national champion.
That all changed when Herschel stepped onto the football field. He brought strength, speed, and determination.
Lou gives the ball to Hershel Walker. Walker finds a hole on the right side. He's outside, and he may be gone.
Turning Georgia into a national force almost overnight. Walker's freshman season was unforgettable. From his very first game against Tennessee.
10, 12, he's running over people. Oh, you Herschel Walker.
It was clear he wasn't just another player. He was something special. That year marked the start of Herschel Walker's incredible journey. One that would leave a lasting impact on football. South Carolina, November 1st, 1980. In a highly anticipated matchup against South Carolina, and whom many were calling the best star running back in college football, George Rogers, Walker showed up big time.
Walker finds a hole on the right side. He's outside, and he may be gone.
He rushed for 219 yards.
Scott, 25, 30, Scott, to the 49 line, to the 50, Lindsey Scott.
But perhaps his greatest game that season came against Florida, a game where the Bulldogs' record hung in the balance. Walker delivered. His performance against Florida was incredible. He rushed for 238 yards, including a stunning 72-yard touchdown run on the game's third play.
Keep the ball in Jacksonville as Walker sweeps to the right, gets outside. 35, look out, he's past midfield and he's got a blocker, cuts to the inside.
Georgia won 26-21, maintaining their undefeated record and national title hopes.
Touchdown, Herschel. A little mix up on the handoff. His last thing a stumble coming out, but he got it to Herschel, and Herschel got it in there for the touchdown.
A week after Thanksgiving on the last game of the season, Walker had the game of his lifetime against rivalry Georgia Tech. His 205 yards and 3 touchdowns solidified the Bulldogs' perfect record and set a pathway to the championship. In the Sugar Bowl of 1981, a legend was born.
Welcome to the Superdome in New Orleans, where the 7th-ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish hope to bring down Herschel Walker and the number 1-ranked Georgia Bulldogs in the 1981 Sugar Bowl.
The farmer's son was at the center stage of sports in the country. Herschel Walker, the freshman phenom, faced Notre Dame Fighting Irish. It was his most important test. It took just 2 plays for the unexpected to happen.
Herschel dislocates his shoulder.
I seen him drop his arm when he come back over.
And it's like, what the hell? His arm's just hanging limp.
I'm standing like me to you, and our team doctor takes his arm out to dislocate his shoulder in place, and I saw Herschel winch.
I didn't come there to be injured. I came there to play.
Walker dislocated his shoulder. For any other player, this would have been the end of the story. But for Herschel, it was just the beginning. With his shoulder popped back into place, Walker stepped back onto the field. What followed was not just football.
Number 10 comes in and makes the play. And here goes Herschel Walker to the 15.
It was a defiant display of willpower and strength.
He took 34 snaps with a dislocated shoulder.
Walker, sweep to the right, good blocking, he's in there.
On that chilly January day, Herschel Walker rushed for 150 yards and scored 2 critical touchdowns, carrying the Bulldogs to a gritty 17-10 victory.
The game is over. Georgia has won 17-10.
Herschel Walker's freshman year at the University of Georgia in 1980 was nothing short of historic. He set an NCAA freshman record with 1,600 yards and scored 15 touchdowns, leading the Bulldogs to a perfect record and a national championship title. His performance earned him consensuous All-American honors, making him one of the most celebrated freshmen in college football history. Walker's dominance on the field redefined what was possible for a first-year player. But Walker wasn't finished. That 1980 season was just one chapter. His junior year was a script out of a mythical flick.
Hershel Walker.
Herschel's got the first down at the 40. Herschel 30. Herschel 20.
1,700 yards rushing, 16 touchdowns, and a SEC championship. Yet these numbers are but echoes of the greatness that unfolded. Walker's dominance on the field turned routine plays into moments of wonder, with every carry redefining what a college running back was. No one had ever seen a player this big and this fast before.
34, they go to Walker. And Walker's still going.
They give to Walker, and he's got the first down, and he's still up. Herschel Walker at the 40.
Herschel Walker.
The fastest big man ever to play the game in any
Herschel Walker.
Herschel's got the first down at the 40. Herschel 30. Herschel 20.
He's outside, and he may be gone.
outside, the 35. Look out.
Outside of Tony Dorsett's college career, I don't think there was ever a college career like this before.
Three-time All-America tailback, the Heisman and Maxwell Trophy winner, hero of the 1980 national champions, number 34, the goal line stalker, Hershel Walker.
It gives me great pleasure to officially retire number 34. Most of all, I think it's going to encourage me not just on the field, but in life, to be my very best. Let me give a big thanks to the Lord Jesus Christ, because with him you can accomplish anything.
His Heisman Trophy win was a symbol of his era.
Tonight is the night the Heisman Trophy is given to collegiate football's top competitor, and there was really no surprise tonight from the Athletic Club of New York.
It is now a great pleasure to announce the winner of the 1982 Heisman Memorial Trophy from the University of Georgia, Hershel Walker.
A testament to his mythical ability, the impact he had on the sport, defined college football in the 80s. In 1983, Donald Trump purchased the New Jersey Generals, a team in the fledgling spring football league.
Become in the minds of many a series of mediocre teams with a bunch of double-knit coaches all in the same uniform with the same game plan. Does it have much of a future?
There will always be a place for the National Football League and a big place in the sports spectrum of this country. Because of a multiple number of factors, will it ever get the ratings that it used to get in the halcyon days? In my opinion, no.
His vision wasn't just about building a successful USFL franchise. It was about using the league as a stepping stone to the NFL.
In its second year, the USFL landed its biggest crowd. Numbers like that are bringing the league to Miami. City commissioners approved a deal this morning that should put a USFL team in the Orange Bowl by 1986.
Don Shula would like to come, Brent. He'd like to come to New York. One of the little obstacles is he'd like an apartment in a building that I have on Fifth Avenue called Trump Tower. And that's something that's more valuable than money.
At the time, Walker had already sent shockwaves across the sports world when he signed with the Generals in 1983, a year away from his Heisman year.
I have said I do not want to go out and take another big step in life. I got another year to think about it, and that's what I'm going to do.
Less than a week later, however, the money looked pretty good, and Hershel Walker decided New Jersey was the place to go. He went to the Generals as the league's drawing card.
This was unheard of, and still is. Walker, arguably the best college player ever, signing with a professional league that isn't the NFL. The newly owned Trump immediately made Walker the face of the Generals. This move with Walker made the USFL an immediate attraction and must-watch TV.
You may have noticed how the USFL has attracted top-quality players, like Heisman Trophy winners Doug Flutie and Hershel Walker.
His impact was immediate. He dominated the league, becoming the USFL's all-time leading rusher and earning MVP honors in 1985. However, the USFL folded after the 1985 season.
Well, the struggling United States Football League is resorting to what some are calling the long bomb in court. An antitrust suit against the National Football League. Nick Charles is here. Right. All the details.
Don, the action is not on the field tonight. The lawsuit is large and lengthy, though. The USFL suing the NFL for a total of $1.32 billion. It accuses the older established league of two things. First, conspiracy to put the USFL out of business. Secondly, unfair monopoly of network television.
And Walker transitioned to the NFL, joining the Dallas Cowboys in 1986. This move had controversy written all over it.
You now have Herschel Walker. Does that mean that Tony Dorsett is expendable?
No, it certainly does not. Tony Dorsett, as Coach Landry has said, is our tailback, and we're going to fit Herschel Walker in where we can fit him in, and I can guarantee you he's not going to be sitting on the bench.
At the time, Dorsett was the star in Dallas, the franchise's greatest running back. Dorsett was looking for a contract around the same time. Dorsett was making $405,000 a year. His contract was set to increase to $550,000 by 1987, so Dorsett held out. This immediately created tension between Landry and Dorsett.
Tex, I'll ask you a question I'm sure that you've been asked before, and a lot of people are asking me. How do you justify paying Herschel Walker the amount of money that you're paying him with a Tony Dorsett there that's about to break records?
Well, the general assumption is that he's making a great deal more, and that is totally incorrect. I said at the time that we signed Herschel Walker, and I told Tony Dorsett this in person, that I felt very comfortable with the contract that we executed with Herschel Walker in relationship to the other players on our football team. You know, everybody now, football contracts aren't the old contracts where whatever you put on that first page was the total money. Now there are deferred payments, annuities, insurance, all types of variations. And the only way you can reduce the true value of a contract today is to go back to what it is today's money. And under that criteria, the players on our team, their contracts rate very favorably with that of Herschel Walker's.
The media tried their best to put the two Heisman winners against each other, especially when Dorsett found out that Walker had the richest first-year contract in NFL history, worth $5 million. Eventually, the two-star running backs decided to put away differences between them. Dorsett and Walker put on a show in Texas.
Walker is in the game and gets the pass. Complete. Newsom and Dorsett on the misdirection. Dorsett breaking to the outside, gets to the 32-yard line. White gets it to Herschel Walker. Walker hit hard at the 20. First and goal from the 5. Dorsett sweeping. He's got some blockers.
They had over 2,800 yards rushing combined. But there was still criticism. Dorsett, a Hall of Famer and seasoned veteran, was still productive, but nearing the twilight of his career.
Cowboys at the Giant 23. Handoff. That's Dorsett. And Dorsett is in the end zone.
Walker, young and more versatile, brought explosive power and speed to the team.
Quick draw to Herschel Walker. And he breaks tackles. He's going to score.
However, their styles didn't mesh seamlessly, and the Cowboys' offensive system couldn't fully capitalize on having two elite running backs. The tension between Dorsett and Walker also played a role. Remember, Walker wasn't your normal rookie who needed to learn the ropes. He felt that he didn't need to take a backseat to Dorsett. Dorsett felt that he was still in his prime. In 1986, Walker was frequently used as a fullback to accommodate Dorsett, but this only frustrated both players. Walker, despite his willingness to play multiple roles, saw himself as a feature back, not a blocker paving the way for someone else. Meanwhile, Dorsett felt marginalized as Walker's arrival began to take away touches and attention from him.
Nice day in Foxborough, Massachusetts, except if you were Tony Dorsett, who carried one time in the whole game for 5 yards.
Behind the scenes, tension simmered, and Dorsett was vocal about his frustrations, feeling that the Cowboys were phasing him out in favor of Walker. The team's decision to give Walker a then-record rookie contract further added fuel to the fire, as it signaled that the organization viewed Walker as the future. Meanwhile, Walker, who wasn't known for being confrontational, tried to avoid fanning the flames. But the dynamics were impossible to ignore. The Cowboys were in the midst of an identity crisis. The locker room, divided between Dorsett and Herschel Walker, mirrored the broader issues. The confusion overrose, lack of cohesive strategy, and the feeling that the team was teetering at a crossroads. All of the blame came rushing back on Tom Landry. Despite the turmoil, Walker's individual performance spoke volumes. Over his first 2 seasons, Walker averaged nearly 800 rushing yards and 800 receiving yards per year, a remarkable feat that highlighted his adaptability and dominance in multiple facets of the game.
Force became the first player in NFL history to gain more than 700 yards, both rushing and receiving.
By 1988, the winds of change swept through Dallas. The legendary Tony Dorsett, once the face of the franchise, was traded to the Denver Broncos. This shift handed Walker full control over the Cowboys offense.
Well, yes, I feel a little bit more at home. I know what Coach Landry is looking for, and, it makes things a lot easier for me. I think we have so many young guys on the team, and they've been here, 1-2 years, and they feel more at home now, and I think it's going to make things a lot easier for everyone.
And he did not disappoint. That season, Walker exploded for 1,500 yards rushing, ranking second in the league, and added to his total dominance by finishing third in the NFL in yards from scrimmage. His yardage total that year was the second highest single season mark in franchise history, a testament to his elite ability to carry an offense. Walker was something that we haven't seen since Jim Brown. Legendary tales of his physical heroics are still told about in NFL circles. Once said to do 2,000 push-ups in a day, ran a 4.3 flats in his 10th season. In high school, once won the 100-yard dash, 220-yard dash, the shot put, and anchored the 4x4 400 relay. He ran the 100-meter dash in 10.22 seconds. He also ran the 55-meter dash in 6.11 seconds. The Bulldog from Georgia once beat the fastest man to ever play in the league, outside of Bob Hayes in a track race.
Stride lead on Darrell Green as they come to the tape. It's 220-pound Hershel Walker.
By the late 80s, Walker was a national sensation. Though the Cowboys were struggling to find their footing as a team, Walker's brilliance stood out as a beacon of hope during a transitional period. His remarkable seasons helped define the franchise's direction during a turbulent era, or so it seemed. And the Dallas Cowboys in 1989 is one of the most pivotal moments in NFL history, marked by a trade that would forever alter the league's landscape. At the time, Walker was the Cowboys' brightest star, coming off of a stellar 1988 season. However, the Cowboys were in the midst of a rebuild under new head coach Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones.
The announcement came on Saturday night. The Dallas Cowboys were being sold for an estimated $140 million, and with the new owner was coming a new head coach.
By early season in 1989, the Cowboys were struggling starting the season 0-4, and clearly in need of a long-term strategy to turn the franchise around. Rumors surfaced again that Walker, Johnson, and Jones were having trade talks, although they shot it down in the media. Future deals would later reveal this to be untrue. Turned out that Johnson, recognizing the value of Walker as a trade asset, devised a bold plan to leverage his star running back to acquire the draft capital needed to rebuild the team. On October 12, 1989, the Cowboys executed what became known as the Herschel Walker trade.
4 years ago, the Cowboys paid Herschel $5 million to come to Dallas. On Thursday, they paid him over $1 million to leave. Walker was traded to the Vikings for 5 players and as many as 7 draft choices. But before agreeing to the deal, Walker had to be coerced a bit to the tune of at least $1 million to leave town. The Cowboys are going nowhere this season, while the Vikings feel the future is now.
Sending Walker to the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for a massive haul of players and draft picks.
Grand arrival of Herschel Walker. There are simply no more excuses.
The deal proved to be a masterstroke. Johnson and Jones used the draft picks acquired in the trade to build the foundation of the Cowboys' 1990s dynasty, selecting key players like Emmitt Smith, Darren Woodson, and others who would lead the team to 3 Super Bowl victories.
Just described, Dallas selects Emmitt Smith, running back from Florida.
For the Vikings, the trade was intended to make them immediate contenders. Will Walker's presence reassured the trade was good in his first game of the season with the Vikings. He had a huge debut. But as the season went on, the fan base started to doubt the trade. The doubts were confirmed when the Vikings were dominated in their first postseason game versus the 49ers. The fan base blamed Walker. But was this justified? First of all, the trade was just a bad deal for the Vikings and Walker. The Vikings ran a split back system with 2 running backs. They often ran a lot of traps and counters. Their system was built for zone running backs who were quick and agile in setting up blocks and running lanes. This wasn't the case for Walker in Dallas or even in Georgia. Landry ran a power offense. In this system, Walker was able to utilize his power by running north and south or downhill. I personally think that the most unfortunate career in NFL history is Herschel Walker, because he was so good that teams didn't know how to use him. In his first few years, he had to split carries with a legend. When he finally did get his opportunity, he was second in the league in rushing yards. Afterwards, he went through a media frenzy and an iconic change of the guards in '89. Went through another iconic moment that same year, which afterwards led him on a road where teams had no idea who he was in terms of style and philosophy. Landry was the only coach who knew how to get the best out of him. His system in '88 was perfect for Walker. Had Landry stayed longer, Walker would have been a Hall of Fame running back. Yet still, Walker had a phenomenal career, given the circumstances. Walker was a hybrid, a transformer, who transformed on Saturdays and Sundays into a species we have never seen before. Although in the NFL, he was a shell of his true potential, he always made his mark, whether it was among America's team, the cold north of Viking land, soaring with the Eagles, or walking among the Giants. He made his mark. If we look at Walker's career as a professional football player, he ran for 5,000 yards in just 3 seasons with the USFL, and still rushed for 8,000 yards in the NFL, although he shared carries for the majority of his career. A phenomenal athlete in 2 sports. Herschel Walker, a football icon. Until next time, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And as always, thanks for watching.